Welcome to the Holistic Helpline podcast.
Great to be here.
Visit us on the web at www.myholistichealth.com. You can set up a session there with a life advisor about, finances, tax stuff, legal aid referrals, and mental health well-being too.
And definitely send us your suggestions for topics you'd like us to discuss.
Yes, please do. Today, we're doing a deep dive into something a lot of you have asked about, navigating student loan repayment options.
It's a big one. So much confusion out there.
Totally. We look at some holistic resources to try and distill what you really need to know, provide some clarity.
Yeah, the goal is to unpack the different ways you can approach repayment.
Right, like understanding those income-driven plans and getting clear on the whole refinancing versus consolidation thing that trips people up.
It really does. And we should also touch on the bigger picture, how these loans actually impact people's lives day to day.
Okay, so let's dive in. First up, income-driven repayment plans, IDR plans.
Right.
When you hear that, you might think, oh, instant loan forgiveness. But that's not quite it, is it?
No, that's a common misconception, actually. They aren't immediate forgiveness programs.
So what are they then?
Their main job, really, is to make your federal student loan payments more manageable.
Okay.
They calculate your monthly payment based on your income and your family size.
Yeah.
So it adjusts.
Ah, okay. That makes sense.
But, and this is the key part for the long term, after you make qualifying payments for usually 20 or 25 years.
Depending on the plan.
Exactly. Depending on the specific plan, then any balance left over can actually be forgiven.
So it's a potential path to forgiveness just down the road.
Precisely. It's a long-term strategy.
Okay. That long-term piece is definitely good to know. Now, our holistic resources mentioned there are like 4 main types of these IDR plans right now.
That's right. Currently, there are 4.
Can you give us a quick rundown?
Sure. You've got Pay-As-You-Earn, which is Pay-We.
Pay-Way.
Got it. Then Revised Pay-As-You-Earn, Repay.
Okay.
Income Contingent Repayment, or ICR.
ICR.
And Income-Based Repayment, IBR.
Pay, repay, ICR, IBR. Okay.
Each one has its own, specific rules about who qualifies, which is where it gets a little detailed.
Yeah, I bet. Eligibility is always the tricky part, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The info we looked at had a breakdown. It seemed like the common federal loans, direct subsidized, unsubsidized.
Right.
The grad PLUS loans, direct consolidation loans, as long as they didn't pay off parent PLUS loans. They mostly qualified for all 4.
Generally, yes. For those types, you often have access to all 4 IDR options.
Okay.
But there are some important exceptions, like direct PLUS loans taken out by parents.
Ah, the parent PLUS ones.
Yeah. Those and also direct consolidation loans that did include parent PLUS loans, specifically those made after mid-2006. They're usually only eligible for one plan.
Which one?
The ICR plan. Income Contingent Repayment.
Okay, so parents have fewer IDR choices. That's important.
Definitely. And what about those older loans? From the FFEL program, Federal Family Education Loan,
Yeah.
or Perkins loans?
Yeah.
Ah, good question. Those generally don't qualify for IDR plans directly.
Oh, so people with those are just out of luck.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Loans like the FFEL Stafford loans, FEL Plus for grad students, FEL Consolidation loans, again, not the parent PLUS ones, and Perkins loans. They can become eligible.
How?
They usually need to be consolidated first into a direct consolidation loan.
I see. So consolidation is like the key to unlock IDR for those older federal loan types.
Often, yes, that's the pathway.
That's really good to know. So if someone has those older loans and thinks IDR sounds good, consolidation might be step 1.
Exactly.
Now, with all these plans and rules, pay, repay, ICR, IBR, how does someone even figure out which one, if any, is right for them? It sounds overwhelming.
It can feel that way. But fortunately, there's a really helpful tool from the Department of Education.
Oh, yeah?
It's called the Loan Simulator. You can find it on the studentaid.gov website.
Loan simulator, okay.
Yeah, you go to studentaid.gov loan-simulator. It lets you put in your info and see which plans you might be eligible for.
And it estimates payments.
Yes, it gives you estimates of what your monthly payments could look like under each different plan. It's a great starting point.
That sounds incredibly useful. Take some of the guesswork out.
Definitely.
And what if someone's listening and thinking, maybe I'm already on one of these plans, but I'm not sure. How do they check?
That's pretty easy. They just need to log in to their account on the Federal Student Aid website.
Studentaid.gov again?
Yep, www.studentaid.gov.
They'll use their FSA ID to log in.
Okay.
And once they're in and looking at their loan details, it should clearly state what repayment plan they're currently on.
Simple enough.
Yeah.
Good. And let's say someone uses the simulator, decides an IDR plan looks right. What's the actual application process like?
It's all online, too. They go back to studentaid.gov. There's a specific section for the IDR application. The link is usually something like studentaid.gov, PIBRinstructions.action.
Okay, IBRinstructions.action. Yeah, you usually find the Apply Now button at the bottom. Again, you'll need that FSA ID to log in and fill it out.
Got it. Now, once you're enrolled, it's not like you just set it and forget it, right?
Yeah.
I remember reading something about an annual thing.
That's absolutely right. You have to recertify your information every single year.
Every year, even if nothing changed, like income or family size.
Yep. Even if everything is exactly the same, you still have to submit a new income-driven repayment plan request online annually.
Wow, okay. How do you remember to do that?
Well, your loan servicer should send you reminders when your recertification deadline is approaching.
Ah, okay. So watch out for those emails or letters.
Definitely. Don't ignore them. It's crucial for staying on the plan.
Okay, so let's recap IDR quickly. It's about managing federal loan payments based on income and family size.
Right.
Offers potential long-term forgiveness.
After 20 or 25 years, yeah.
4 main types: payee, repay, ICR, IBR, with different eligibility. Use the loan simulator at studentaid.gov to figure out options.
Great tool.
And you absolutely must recertify every year.
Correct.
Okay. And if people want even more detail on IDR?
The best place is still the Federal Student Aid website, studentaid.gov. They have a really detailed FAQ section just for IDR plans. The address ends in Manage Loans Repayment Plans Income-Driven Questions.
Perfect. Lots of info there. Okay, let's shift gears now.
Right.
This next one causes so much confusion. Refinancing versus consolidation.
Oh, yeah. People mix these up all the time.
They sound similar, but the holistic resources were clear. There are very different things, especially with student loans. Let's start with refinancing. What is that exactly?
Okay, so student loan refinancing is when you take out a brand new loan from a private lender, like a bank or a credit union or an online lender.
A private company, not the government.
Exactly. And you use that new private loan to pay off your existing student loans.
Can those existing loans be federal or private or both?
They can be either or a mix. You can refinance federal loans, private loans, or a combination.
And why would someone do this? What's the main goal?
Usually the primary motivation is to try and get a lower interest rate.
Ah, save money on interest.
Right. Or maybe change the repayment term, make it shorter to pay it off faster, or longer to lower the monthly payment.
Okay, so potential advantages are lower interest rate, maybe simplifying payments if you combine multiple loans.
Yep. One payment instead of several.
And maybe changing how long you have to pay it back.
Those are the main potential upsides, yes.
There have to be downsides, right? Especially if you're refinancing federal loans this way. What are the risks?
This is super important to understand. When you refinance federal loans with a private lender, you permanently lose all the unique benefits and protections that come with federal loans.
Permanently, like gone forever.
Gone forever. You can't get them back on that refinance loan.
Okay, what kind of benefits are we talking about?
Big ones. Like access to those income-driven repayment plans we just talked about.
Right.
Access to those income-driven repayment plans we just talked about.
Right.
Access to federal loan forgiveness programs like Public Service Loan Forgiveness,
Oh,
PSLF.
Oh,
And the more generous federal options for deferment and forbearance if you run into financial trouble.
so if you lose your job or something, the federal options might be better.
Generally, yes. Private lenders might offer some hardship options, but they're often less flexible and not as long-lasting as the federal ones.
That's a huge thing to give up.
It really is. Plus, refinancing always requires a credit check.
Right.
And there's absolutely no guarantee you'll actually qualify for a lower interest rate. It depends on your credit, your income.
So you might go through the process and end up with the same rate or even higher.
It's possible. You need good credit to get the best refi rates.
Okay, that loss of federal protection feels like the biggest caution flag there.
Definitely the main one for federal loan borrowers to consider.
All right, now let's switch to the other term, consolidation. Specifically, the Direct Loan Consolidation Program our resources mentioned. How is that different?
Okay, federal consolidation through the Direct Loan Consolidation Program is only for federal student loans.
Ah, so you can't include private loans in this.
Correct. It's purely a federal program to combine multiple federal loans into one single new direct consolidation loan. Still a federal loan.
Still federal. Okay, that's a key difference. So what are the advantages of doing this? Why consolidate federally?
Well, one big reason is it can make previously ineligible federal loans,
Yeah.
like some of those older FFEL or Perkins loans we mentioned,
Right.
eligible for income-driven repayment plans. Consolidation can be the key to accessing IDR.
Okay, that connects back to what we discussed earlier. What else?
It also lets you switch any variable rate federal loans you might have into a fixed interest rate for the life of the consolidated loan.
A fixed rate is usually better, right? More predictable.
Generally preferred, yes. Now, the rate itself isn't lowered. That's crucial.
Oh, how is the rate determined then?
It's calculated as the weighted average of the interest rates on all the loans you're consolidating. And then it's rounded up to the nearest 0.125%.
Rounded up. So the rate might actually go up slightly.
It could, very slightly, due to the rounding, but it won't go down. It basically locks in an average of your current rates.
Okay, so not for interest rate reduction. What else? Any other benefits?
Consolidation can also extend your repayment term, sometimes up to 30 years.
Longer term means lower monthly payments?
Usually, yes.
Yeah.
Which can help with cash flow. And finally, it's also a way for people with federal loans in default to get back into good standing.
Oh, okay. A path out of default. So advantages are potential IDR access, fixed rate, maybe lower monthly payments via a longer term, and fixing default status.
Those are the main ones, yes.
But we mentioned the interest rate doesn't go down. Any other downsides to federal consolidation?
The main one, besides the rate not decreasing, is that if you extend your repayment term significantly,
You can get those lower payments.
exactly, you'll likely end up paying much more in total interest over the longer life of the loan.
Right. Lower payments now, but more cost overall. Makes sense. Okay, so we've got refinancing, private, potential lower rate, lose federal benefits, and consolidation, federal, bundles loans, fixed rate, averaged, potential IDR access, longer term possible, keeps federal benefits.
That's a good summary.
Based on all that, when might refinancing actually be the better move?
Refinancing could make more sense if, say, you only have private student loans to begin with. Then you're not giving up federal benefits you never had.
Can wait.
Or if you have federal loans but also have very strong credit, a stable high income, and you're confident you won't need things like IDR or PSLF, then maybe the potential interest savings outweigh the loss of benefits for you.
A calculated risk, basically.
Kinda.
Yeah.
Also, maybe for parents looking to transfer a parent PLUS loan to their child, though that usually requires the child to refinance it in their name.
Okay. And on the flip side, when is federal consolidation generally the more suitable path?
Consolidation is often better if you need access to those federal programs, IDR plans, maybe public service loan forgiveness.
If keeping federal benefits is key.
Exactly.
Right.
Or if maybe your credit isn't perfect, but you want the simplicity of one federal payment.
Right, because consolidation doesn't usually depend on credit score like refinancing does.
Correct. Also, if you really need that lower monthly payment and are okay with paying more interest over a longer term, and as we said, if your federal loans are in default.
It really does boil down to your specific situation, doesn't it? Your loan types, your career, your income stability.
Absolutely. There's no single best answer. You have to weigh those factors for yourself.
Okay. Really important distinctions there. Now let's pivot slightly and look at the broader impact of all this debt.
Yeah, beyond just the mechanics of repayment.
Our holistic resources included findings from a National Association of Realtors report on this. And wow, some of the effects are pretty significant.
They really are. It paints a picture of how student debt ripples out into many areas of life.
Let's start with work, employment. Did the report find debt affects job choices?
It did. Well, a decent chunk, about 42%, said it didn't impact their job situation. Others reported some real effects, like feeling stuck in a job they disliked just to make the payments.
Yeah, I can see that.
Or having to take on a second job. Or working in a field they didn't really want to be in just for the money.
Did it affect certain groups more?
Yes. The report noted that people carrying debt for more than one person, maybe themselves, and a child or spouse, and millennials, were more likely to say their employment was impacted by the debt.
Makes sense. More debt equals more pressure. What about big purchases like houses, cars?
Significant impact there, too. Over a quarter said debt affected buying a home that was 29%.
Nearly a third. Wow.
And even more said it impacted taking a vacation, 35%, or buying a car, 31%.
So delaying or preventing major life purchases.
Exactly. And for people who didn't already own a home, the number was even higher.
How high?
51%. Over half of non-homeowners felt their student debt was delaying them from buying a house.
51%, that's That's staggering. A huge barrier to homeownership.
It really highlights the scale of the issue.
And it wasn't just purchases, right? The report mentioned life choices, too.
Yes. About half of the borrowers surveyed said debt impacted their broader life choices.
Like what?
Things like deciding whether to go back for more education, about a third, 33%, felt it affected that.
Okay.
And even decisions about starting a family. 14% said debt impacted that choice.
Delaying having kids because of student loans?
Seems to be the case for some. And again, younger generations, Gen Z and millennials, were more likely to report these kinds of impacts on education, family, relationships, marriage.
It really shows how this debt isn't just financial, it shapes your whole life path in some ways.
It really can. Profoundly.
One finding that really jumped out at me was about understanding the costs before taking on the debt.
Ah, yes. That was quite revealing.
What did it say?
Only a small minority, just 23%, felt they actually had a good understanding of the full costs of college before they took out loans for themselves.
Less than 1 in 4. That's concerning.
It is. And that number was even lower, just 18% among the group, whose debt was delaying them from buying a home.
So the people most impacted financially were often the least informed going in.
That seems to be the correlation, yeah. It really underscores the need for better financial education around college costs and loans.
Absolutely. Before you sign on the dotted line, okay, one last thing from that report. They asked people, if your student loans magically disappeared, what would you do with that money?
Right. What are the competing priorities?
What came out on top?
The number one answer was putting it towards long-term savings, like retirement. 43% said that.
Sensible. What else?
Close behind was paying off other debts, 40%, then investing 38%.
So savings, other debt, investing. What about buying things?
Those came next. Purchasing a home was 24% and buying a car was 22%.
Interesting that saving and paying other debt beat out buying a house overall.
It was, although millennials and those specifically saying debt delayed their home purchase, they were much more likely to prioritize buying a home if the money was freed up.
Ah, okay. So for that group, homeownership is still a major goal being held back by the loans.
Definitely it seems that way.
This paints such a clear picture of how student debt really redirects money away from, building wealth, tackling other financial goals, major life steps.
It absolutely does.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, let's pull together the main takeaways from everything we've discussed, drawing from those holistic resources.
Sounds good. I think first, understanding those income-driven repayment plans is key for anyone with federal loans who's struggling with payments. They're based on your means and offer that long-term forgiveness possibility.
Right. Manageability now, potential relief later. Second,
getting crystal clear on refinancing versus federal consolidation. They are not the same.
Refinancing private might lower rate, lose federal benefits. Consolidation, federal bundles loans, keeps federal benefits, rate is average.
Exactly. Huge implications depending on which path you choose, if any.
And third,
just recognizing the really significant, far-reaching impact student debt can have. On your job, your ability to buy a home or car, even major life decisions like family and education. It's not just a monthly payment.
Definitely not. Which really means, well, it means you listening need to look carefully at your own situation, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Your specific loans, your income, your career path, your goals. It all matters when choosing a strategy.
No one-size-fits-all solution here.
Not at all. And we really encourage you to use the resources we mentioned. That loan simulator.
Studentaid.gov loan simulator.
Yes. It's a powerful tool for exploring IDR options. And the main federal student aid site,
Studentaid.gov managed loans,
is just packed with reliable information. Use them. Empower yourself to make informed choices.
Good advice. So maybe the final thought for everyone listening is this. Considering how much student loan debt can influence your financial future and your life choices, what proactive steps can you take, starting today, to navigate your own repayment journey effectively and really work towards the future you want?
That's the crucial question to ponder.
Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.